Hello everyone, welcome back to Dragonfly Engineering. So this week we're going to do the follow-up on molding of our first product, the 24 well tray, which is used for holding used end mills or pencils or paintbrushes or whatever you want on your workbench or your craft bench. So last week we talked about the mold cooling of this part, because it is actually kind of has a complicated cooling system, so you could check out last week's episode. And I promised then that, or back then, that I would show you the robot plucking, since we're moving this product to a higher automation standard. So using Big Yellow back here, in this episode we're going to talk about how we pull this part out of the mold and clip it and stick it on the conveyor belt over here. And as a reminder, I'm going to be joining the Arnfest South festival, which is actually this coming weekend, April 25th. In Tifton, Georgia, and this is the event that Keith Rucker is spearheading. I don't know if he's actually the official organizer, but he's adopting the Arnfest South, which is the first one in the south of the United States. There's an Arnfest North that's been going on for years now, but this is going to be at the Georgia Museum of Agriculture, and I am going to be there selling these trays as well as selling the new Dragonfly Engineering t-shirts. These are also available on our website, so you can check out the end of the video or link below if you'd like to get your own Dragonfly Engineering t-shirt, which is brand new, and or some of these organizer trays for your workbench. All right, well, enough said about that. So let's get into the robot automation of pulling this part out of the dual shot molding machine. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you at Arnfest South. Thanks. Alright, so the robot is in the pounce position, and I just restarted when I turned on the molding machine and robot this morning, it was still stuck in this position. So I do need to reset the program, so I'll do that on the teach pendant off camera. And you do hold down the play button when you're in automatic mode to reset this program, and that'll bring the robot back to the home position, which it's going to now. Okay, and then I will hit the play button one more time to initiate the program for like kind of a fresh start here. So I hit play one more time, and the robot is getting ready and is ready to grab the part. I'll move the camera a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to hit the stop button on the teach pendant, and this will pause the robot, because this is basically going to be the first time I execute this this program in automatic mode when it's actually talking with the molding machine. And we don't want the molding machine to prematurely trigger and basically close onto the robot or its fixtures or anything itself. So hence I'm going to be a little careful, and I've basically got the robot in standby, or the program is paused while I activate the molding machine. All right, so we're over on the molding machine, and I'm going to go to setup and users and enter the engineer mode. Usually these molding machines have operator and engineer mode, mostly so operators don't mess up a complicated program. Yeah, so now we're in engineer mode, and I can go to the quick button down here. And in the quick button, there's free in and free out. This is freely programmable inputs and outputs. So right here, we got free input, which means, and it's checked to used. So when I execute this injection molding program, it's going to wait for a 24-volt signal on input number 1 in the I/O electrical connector for this machine. And when it sees that signal, it's going to close the clamp, which is another way of saying start the molding cycle. Now we also have free outputs. So on this one, we're also using output number 1, and it will trigger a 24-volt signal to the molding, to Big Yellow, the KUKA Robot, 3 seconds after it pushes the ejector pins forward, which means that it ejected the part. So anyway, that's the scheme or the logic that how this molding machine talks to the robot and vice versa. All right, I'm going to grab the robot pendant. It's good to have it in hand, ready to e-stop anything that does what you don't expect. And then I'm going to, I don't know if you can see the buttons below this controller, but I'm going to go to automatic mode, and it's telling me close the door and push the cycle start button. So I will do that. I make it a habit to check inside of the molding machine every time before I hit start. So I'm going to hit start. And now it's saying it's waiting for the free input 1. Now when you start a cycle, the robot is waiting to start too. So you actually have to tell one of the 2 machines to go. In this case, I'm going to double check that the robot is off or paused. And then I'm going to say temporarily, we're not going to use the freely, whoops, let me go to inputs. We're not going to use the freely input because we need to get the perpetual loop started. So I'm going to hit no, and then the machine activated. Now it's very important that you click use again so that you don't wind up closing the clamp onto your robot on the second cycle. So double check that the molding machine is going to wait for this all clear signal from your robot. And then you can see we're injecting, and it looks like I've got probably an issue with the sprue, so I may have to abandon this cycle, which is okay. I still got the robot paused at the moment. So I'm going to hit the manual button, and then we're going to back out the carriage. Probably I was just sitting here talking too long. And we're also going to open up the molding machine. And you want to keep an eye on that robot. Oh, okay, we actually did inject some plastic. It's just that everything is probably not quite up to speed yet. Or I need to update the injection profile. Actually, so I'm going to eject this as much as we can of that runner. Yeah, we actually got some plastic squirted in there. Yeah, so this really is our first part. Let's see if I can clear this part out. And we're going to have some issues probably with some remnant plastic. Hopefully the second shot will clear that plastic out. We'll weld to it. And yeah, the A side of our mold is, I don't have the B side hot, so maybe that's one of the factors. And the robot is still paused, so it's not going to go anywhere. And keep double checking when you're working with automation that things aren't going to randomly start moving on you if you don't expect it. All right. So I am going to push out the plastic. I've got the carriages back, and now we're going to squirt out the plastic. Yeah, I think we just have a cold mold. We just loaded more plastic. So I'm gonna clear out the purge off or behind this controller right here. I'm just kind of scooping the plastic out of the nozzle area. And then we'll close and try again. All right, so I'm gonna grab the robot controller, this thing. It's just a good habit to have your finger on a stop even though the robot is still stopped. We're gonna go back to no for the free input. I'm gonna hit the fully automatic button and we're gonna try to inject again. And double checking we're all clear. We hit the start button. We're going to watch this indicator to see if that squirts the plastic into the mold. And it's doing it, it's trying. It's still moving. It looks like it's freezing up. I don't want to overpack this part either because we can get sharp corners and flash. So we'll hit stop again. I will refill the shot. Back the nozzle off, and then let's open up our mold again and see what we get. Again, I'm making sure that robot is not moving. I'm going to manually eject. All right. I might have to increase the injection pressure or speed, or yeah, injection. This part is partially pulling away, so I'll grab a tool and clear this chunk of plastic off. All right, I got this plastic pry tool. Actually, a local guy makes this. Bojo. This guy actually taught me how to use the EDM machine. He's a local machinist, and they make these plastic tools for tool and die to pry off parts without messing up your mold too much. I haven't really talked to him since he taught me how to use the EDM machine, and his tools last. All right, we got it off of there. There's a little piece down here, which may not be so easy to get off. Hopefully it'll just weld on. All right, I'm gonna go to injection, and we'll increase the velocity so it doesn't have a chance to cool off so much, and increase the pressure for injection. I can reduce these later, or I may have to just start heating the B side of this mold too. Okay, we are going to try again. We got the robot controller in hand. I've already hit the cycle start, and it's waiting for the signal from the robot. So again, we'll go to free input. Oh, I still got it off. See, I should have flipped it back to use so I don't mess up my robot. But anyway, we'll hit start. Actually, I'm going to make sure that there's no purge in the nozzle area. No, there isn't. And we'll hit the start button. And then I will click on use input. Huh. Okay, it says mold not locked. That's interesting. I think it's because I've got a bulge of plastic in the mold area. Oh, because the nozzle was engaged. Okay, let's try again. So the nozzle actually comes all the way up to the stripper plate, right in this area. And I had the nozzle forward, and the molding machine sensed that that nozzle was forward, and it didn't allow. It did a safety interrupt because it sensed something was there that shouldn't be there. So let's do this again. I've retracted the nozzle, and we'll hit the start button, and it's waiting for the input. So we'll say, no, don't use that temporarily. All right, that time it worked. And it looks like we're getting a full shot this time. See how this indicator shows there's only 0.38 inches of plastic left in the injection unit. And freely input is used. So I'm going to be ready to trigger the robot here pretty soon. I'm going to basically hit the play button right here instead of the stop, and this red R will turn green. It's cooling right now, and I'm going to slow down the robot to just, let's say 10% to start. I'm going to hit the play button on the robot and be ready to e-stop the molding machine. Oh, it's having trouble ejecting. All right, I'm going to hit stop on the robot and stop on the molding machine. The ejector force wasn't high enough, so I'm going to increase the eject force from 1200 psi to 1600 psi and then manually eject. There we go. I also need to reduce the travel of the ejector so that the part doesn't fall off. I need it to stay stuck on the mold itself so that the robot can actually grab it. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to run an auto because the robot will grab a part that's not there, and then it won't pass the part retention inspection point with the red lights in the back. So we'll say 1.9 inches of ejector travel where it was 2 inches. And the robot is off again, so we will do another cycle. And the molding machine always pulls its ejector pins back whenever you start a molding cycle. But right now it's asking for the input, so I will override the robot input temporarily. All right, here we go. We'll click on use free input so that the robot doesn't prematurely fire. So we got a good fill, only 0.2 inches of plastic left, so that certainly seems like a complete fill. And after the mold starts to open, I'll hit the play on the robot and be ready to stop both devices simultaneously if I see a problem. All right, I'm on the kind of the setups, one of the setup screens for this molding machine, and this is the I/O manager or monitor. And I forced output 1, which is the trigger for the robot to actually grab the part. So I've got that on, and I confirmed that it's on with my control box down there. That's that lit up LED light right there. I think my issue is I was not understanding that I set up a wait time of a 3-second delay and on for 3 seconds. So I'm going to make this maybe a 1.5 second delay. Yeah, ejector, ejector 2 forward, that's what's going on. This molding machine has 2 ejectors for mold 1 and mold 2. Mold 2 is not on right now. So yeah, it's actually ejector 1 is the one that I need to activate, not 2. So, ejector forward instead of ejector 2 forward is what I want. There we go. This program I copied from another program where the robot was plucking parts from the second nozzle or the second mold position. So I think I'll put this back to 3 seconds just to give me enough time to figure out if something's not right. So the robot never got the signal because I'm not actually using ejector plate number 2. Actually, I'll just skip the line and I'll go to the next line in the program. So I'm skipping wait for input 1. And now when I flip this back to automatic and I hit the play button, the robot will activate. So there's a few ways to skin the cat here, as they say. Okay, so the molding machine isn't going to do anything. And to double check, you can always open the door a little bit. See, I've opened the front door, and that'll help prevent any unwanted motions from the molding machine. So I'm going to hit the play button and be ready to hit the stop button. I've got it going really slow, so I'll speed it up. And you got to hold down the play button when you interrupt a program because the robot wants to know that you know where it's going to be before it actually goes into fully automatic mode. So it's going to come in slowly and grab this part. And now it's going to go automatic. I guess my hose is in the way. There we go. So plucked it, hold it out. So actually we can pause and I can start up the molding machine cycle now and not have to override that input because the robot's in the automation cycle now. So its next step is to make sure that it's got the part and then it's going to fire the start trigger for the molding machine. So I'm going to go over here and check that our freely input is in the used position and our output is used. So output tells the robot to grab the part, and then the robot tells the molding machine to do the next cycle. Okay. So I'm going to hit the cycle start button, and it's telling me close the door, which I've done, and then I will hit the start. And I'm doing this with the robot end effector out of the travel path of these 2 molds, which again, whenever you can, you want to be in a fail-safe situation whenever you're starting up automation like this. Okay, so I I just told it to go to fully automatic. It's telling me to close the door and hit the start button. And now it's, yeah, it has problems with my ejector back position, but it seemed to resolve that. So now it's saying waiting for free input 1, which is from the robot. So when I hit the play button right here, because I've paused the program, this button right here, we should see that the robot will check that it has its part in hand, and then we'll trigger the molding machine to do the next molding operation. So I'm going to hit play now, and I'll be ready to stop the machine if need be, both of them. Okay, so the robot saw that it had its part, and it told the molding machine, you are clear to go. And it should come back and wait to grab the next part, which it is. And I've got one hand on the door of the molding machine, which will stop it. It's kind of like emergency stop. And I got the other finger on the stop button of the robot here. I'm still having problems with my ejector position. It's not going to allow. Oh, yeah, it will. Okay. Now this is where I want to be really ready to grab the door and stop the molding machine because I don't want to crash my robot. All right, well, here's an example where it won't pass the part test. And I'll protect my mold from not closing on that crooked part. So now I'm going to hit stop on the robot. And I may have to refine the peel operation for this part. All right, so I reset and we're going to try this cycle again. I'm going to hit the fully auto button on the molding machine, and I'm ready to stop the robot if need be. And it says waiting for input, so free inputs and no. Hopefully we'll get a good injection. Looks like it. About 0.3 inches. Okay, I'm ready to stop everything if something doesn't look right. Right now we're chilling the part, or cooling in the mold. A little bit of an undershot. Oh, having trouble ejecting. I'm going to have to work on that. Okay. Saw the part and closed. All right, I'm going to increase the injection or ejecting force, but I'm going to keep an eye on that robot in the background. With my finger on the stop button, since this is the beginnings of a cycle, mostly to make sure I didn't forget to turn on the external trigger to cycle the molding machine, and to wait for the robot to go in there. I'm going to increase the eject force. Okay, here we go. We got the little double wiggle there to pull the part off. So that time it ejected fine without too much trouble. I added about 250 psi of hydraulic force to the ejector. And that's how you dial in ejector force, is by the hydraulic pressure on the eject cylinder in the back. So I think we are running in auto mode. I need to put up a conveyor belt on the where the yellow robot is piling these parts up. But soon we're going to add, I think the second Epson robot, which we haven't actually used in production yet. We're going to add that to the work table over there so that the Epson robot can clip the runner off and then package the parts into a cardboard box. Or we'll have a KUKA do the clipping and the Epson will fold the boxes and then load the parts and close the boxes. But let's just get the parts molded first. All right, I'm keeping an eye out to look for anything that may cause a crash. I don't see or hear anything. Here's again the kind of the peel off process. And the check for the part, and we're good. Okay, I may run this for a little bit and just watch, see what's up. And I'll check on our pile next door as well. Oh, I can speed up the robot too at this point. We'll get a 75%. Oh, and I need to turn on the cooling water as well. There's the cooling water, or coolant. That's 75% robot velocity. I don't think I programmed it to do the full 2 meters per second. So it's 75% of whatever I programmed it to do. Okay. We are running. All right, well, it dropped its part, and since it doesn't know that it's jammed on the mold, everything stops. So I need to go and flag the optical sensors to continue the molding operation. So I'm going to increase the ejector length slightly. So that it's sticking further out on the core, so there's less of a resistance to get plucked off, but it may eject off more readily at this point, or like eject before the robot can grab it. That doesn't look bad. Ah. should work. We'll figure out the cycle time, which ultimately is dollars per minute. All right, here we are on the back side behind our safety gate. We'll see the robot do its thing from this direction. You guys have seen that was the plastic hopper loading. Better check on that drain. Okay. It's got like its sword